Hello there. Thank you for having me. If you are new here, I am Augustine Pajo Donfe. I've been a professional teacher for the past 4 decades. From my initial beginning as a primary school to a secondary school teacher, with my current role as a graduate lecturer in many business schools, I have been collecting the best tips, tools, and techniques to help students prepare for their exam. The skills I shall be sharing with you are based on my own experience in instructing thousands of students around the world. I hope you will find them useful as they have, and I thank you for the opportunity to work with you.
Passing a professional exam could be a difficult task, but with the right tuition and examination techniques, this should not be a challenge. Today, I am going to give you reasons why most students are unsuccessful in their professional exams and how to pass your exams. I shall begin my program with the Chinese proverb, which says, when I hear, I forget. When I see, I remember. When I do, I understand. If you want to understand what I'm going to do with you today, I would advise that you practice with me. You go through the instructions with me. That is the only way you will be able to understand what I'm going to do for the day. Most students, like people in general, don't like to talk about failure. We don't like to hear negative things. We like to be told how good we are. We want to hear that we can pass and do so without much effort. The fact of the matter is that it is good for someone to come along every once in a while and tell us the truth. Did you know that the overall pass rate for the most popular ACCA, ICA Ghana, CIMA, CIT, CIM papers exam is something like 35%? Now, this low success score reflects two things, basically. One, the exams are difficult. The exams are designed so that a pass represents a level of professionalism held by a middle-level manager. Two, many students underestimate the level of preparation needed at the professional level to prepare adequately, and then they miss the target. I am not giving this information to scare you, but to challenge you. I challenge you to work harder and smarter than you have ever worked in your life. I challenge you to prove to yourself that what I share with you tonight is the most helpful, efficient, and complete advice you would have ever received from anyone, anywhere. In other words, I want you to pass your exam. The research and experience I have gained over the last 3 decades preparing students for various professional exams like ACCA, CIT, CIMA has convinced me that anyone can pass any exam. All you need to know is how, and this is where I can help. I will show you how to succeed on your professional exam. Whether you succeed or not is up to you. Now, before we get started, I want to ask you something, okay? Don't worry, I'm not going to ask you for money. I want to ask you for 2 small things. First, if you benefit from my talk today, and if you have ever benefited from any of the papers I teach, tell someone else. Second, if you don't benefit from this talk and have not benefited from any of the papers I teach, don't tell anybody about it. Please tell me why, so I can improve. Seriously, I want my teaching and my revision school to be the place to get help for your exam. I can only do that with your help. Does that sound fair? I think it does. If you do too, then we are ready to begin. I always tell my students that to succeed, they have to eliminate mistakes. In fact, the elimination of mistakes is to a degree the very definition of success. So no mistakes equal success. Now, apart from the statistics that I have shared earlier, I believe and look at the different types of students and what is that prevents them from succeeding will benefit you. The information that follows is the result of more than 30 years of classroom experience. What follows is not intended to criticize or belittle. In fact, the following was written to inform and also to promote change. It is my intention to help students go from test failure to test success. First, we'll look at it from a student perspective, we'll look at it from the lecturer's perspective, and lastly, the school's perspective. But I shall concentrate on the student perspective because that is why you are here with me this evening. So let's begin. Why do some students fail their exam? I'll look at that, and then from there, I will give you steps, techniques that would help you to be able to pass your professional exam. So let's consider the student perspective. First, it will be important to look at these students. First student, I will refer to them as the lazy students. We all fall prey to it. Laziness, lack of motivation at times, but these students make an art of it. You know the type, never does homework, or when they do homework, it is sloppy, without much time or thought having been spent on it. Lazy students often just copy the examples from the textbook. It is obvious why they fail, isn't it? However, some people still need it spelled out for them. So if you are a lazy student, then maybe it's time. It's time for you to recognize the need to do a little more work. After all, would it really harm you to actually put a little effort into your studies? You want to know the best part of doing a little extra work instead of just enough to get by it. You will surprise yourself how you will be successful if you put in extra work. You will find talent you didn't know you had, and you will prove to yourself that you can do it. There is nothing better to take into an exam than self-confidence. Self-confidence, except of course, knowledge. Knowledge and self-confidence go hand in hand. If you have done the work, you have knowledge. If you've got the knowledge, you have confidence. And if you have got confidence and knowledge, you've got a pass on your exam. So what is my advice for lazy students? Surprise yourself. Give yourself 1 month or 1 week if you are that lazy. Commitment of really trying. See for yourself that you can do it, and who knows? I have seen many lazy students become quite diligent once they learn how to succeed. Remember, success, just like failure, is learned. Learn how to succeed. It only takes a little more effort. The second student I'll talk about is the diligent student. Some may find it odd that a diligent student will fail an exam. Students who are always early for class, do all their homework, and have a lot of questions sound like a teacher's dream, right? Yes, they can be. However, I have seen diligent students fail exam for a couple of basic reasons. So why do they fail? Believe it or not, diligent students fail exams for 2 basic reasons. And what are they? They are so caught up in being diligent students that they don't actually learn what is important for the exam they are taking. They only see the trees and don't take time to look at the forest. There is nothing wrong with detail, but detail for detail's sake is missing. The second reason why diligent students fail is stress. Stress. Time again, I have seen good diligent students fail exams based on nothing more than stress. In fact, they overstress the importance or magnitude of the exam, and they lose the ability to function when it comes to the time for the exam. So what is my advice for such students? I advise my diligent students to take a walk before the exam. I tell them to look at the people, about their daily lives and routines. Now, once they see that it really is just another day, it helps them put the exam into perspective. After all, the result of one exam is not the end of the world. Then we have the know-it-all students. The know-it-all is the most difficult student to teach. After all, they already know everything. Just ask them. When it is time for them to actually learn something useful, they usually miss it because they are so busy telling you what they know. Now, why do they fail? Let's face it, know-it-alls are usually intelligent, not always too likable, but by intelligent, it's not the only thing that is needed to succeed in exam. Success on exam is the result of intelligence applied. It is about learning materials relevant to what you will be examined over and not necessarily knowing the square root of 34,231. In other words, wisdom, which is knowledge applied, is needed to pass exam. Wisdom and knowledge are not synonymous. So my advice to know-it-all students is that close your mouth. An appropriate proverb states that God gave us 2 ears 1 month, because we need to do twice as much listening as speaking. Know-it-all students may be intelligent, but aren't always wise. If you are know-it-all, try listening to your teacher for a change. Really trying listening. You just may be impressed by what others know that you don't. The next student is the class clone. There is usually one in every class, always, and I mean always making fun of something or anything in class. Usually it is a guy, but when there are no guys to fill the role, girls do just fine. Don't get me wrong. There is nothing wrong with fun in the classroom, but there is something wrong when fun, for the sake of fun, interferes with the learning process and the learning or the lessons at hand. The problem with class clones is they never seem to know when enough is enough. So why do they fail? Class clones are often weak students. They mask their academic weakness with a sense of humor, often CCs, having difficulty learning. Even a great effort on their part produces marginal results. This, of course, leads to discouraged students. Those who stop trying, especially those with less than stellar academic abilities, often fail. So what is my advice to such students? Clones need to tone it down a bit. If you are a CC, you need to find a way to make learning fun. There is nothing wrong with having fun as long as you work or as long as your work is finished and you know the material. Do you know the material? That's my question. If the answer is no, then get to work and stop cloning around for a change. After all, failure is nothing to laugh about. We also have the whiner students. The whiner is never happy with anything. They use specific tone, which I refer to as whine, or voice to get their way. If the teacher gives homework, they complain that it is too much. If the teacher doesn't give homework, they complain that there is no homework. Whiner find fault with everything. They find fault with others while unable to see their own weaknesses. They may do their work, however, they do so reluctantly. So in my class, I have this particular student. When I use pounds and dollars as my illustration, the student will say, "Sir, I want you to use Ghana cedis." And I keep on saying, whether it is pounds or it is dollars or it is yen or it is South African rand, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is the principle. If you understand the principle, you will be able to do the work. So what is my advice? Or before I give you the advice, why do whiners fail? Whiners are often one step away from being blameless. If whiners would spend only half the time and then energy they spend whining, they just might become exceptional students. Whiners concentrate on the wrong things. If they will stop whining for a second, they will see that the teacher is there to help them. The homework teachers assign isn't some form of punishment. It is actually meant to help. So what is my advice to such students? If you want to whine or complain, become a member of parliament. Or better yet, get married. That does not mean that there aren't times when you have the right to complain. However, like many things, and good and bad, what we do on a regular basis become habit. Nobody, and I mean nobody, likes a habitual whiner. The other student will be referred to as the blamer. Now, blamers are one step beyond whiners and complainers. They actually blame situations, events, circumstances, foreign government, as well as anything, everything, and anyone for their failure or lack of success. If it is not his husband, it is the wife. If it's not the wife, it is the children. If it's not about the kids, it's about the teacher. Somebody must always be blamed. Blamers have a victim mentality. Their greatest problem is accepting personal responsibility. It never occurs to them that they are personally responsible for the academic situation they are in. Just how long can you keep blaming the teacher you had 3 years ago for lack of ability now? So why do they fail? Blamers don't accept personal responsibility. They haven't grown up in a sense. They blame anything and anyone for their failures and lack of success. Blamers are often weak students who actually need to put in extra work. They often choose the path of least resistance and bingo, a blamer is born. Now, if you find yourself blaming others for your failure, please listen to what I'm going to say very carefully, which is my advice. Grow up already. Make a commitment to yourself to stop blaming others for your failure. Ask for help. You'll be surprised at how many people there are around you willing and capable of helping you. Now, watch what you say. The next time you are blaming someone or something for your failure, remember the old adage. When you point one finger at someone else, you are pointing 3 fingers back at yourself. Accepting personal responsibility is an important step towards avoiding and learning to success. The other student I will look at is the warrior. Warriors are a unique class of students unto themselves. They can be and usually are strong students, but lack seemingly confidence in their abilities. The problem with a warrior isn't their ability or lack therefore. The problem with warriors is that they waste so much time and energy worrying about the wrong things. The problem with a warrior isn't their ability or lack, but they worry about wrong things. Warriors tend to overstress themselves. A little tension before an exam is normal and it is expected, but then too much stress is counterproductive. Warriors often lack perspective. They overstress themselves, worrying about things that are not in their control. Warriors create unnecessary and excessive stress. They tend to overemphasize the importance of an exam. All exams are important, but let's try to be a bit realistic. What is my advice to the warriors? Warriors need to learn perspective. Talk to someone else about their experience with the exam. See yourself as not being so unique. Many other students have accomplished the very thing you are trying to do. Are they so different from you? Are they smarter than you? What makes you so unique? My advice to the warriors is that stop worrying about things you can't control and get to work learning in the areas you can control. Accounting can be learned. Costing can be learned. Finance can be learned. Tax can also be learned. Just so you know, confidence is a great substitute for worry. We have the weak students. Now, just as some people are physically stronger than others, some students are weaker than others. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Weak students should learn something from bodybuilders. My example here will be Arnold Schwarzenegger. What can that be to you? How does a bodybuilder make his or her muscles big and strong? You know it. He exercises them and they grow. We students with humor, excuses, and help from friends. Did I say excuses? Yes, for so many years. So what is my advice? If preceding describes you and your circumstances, then please do something about it. So my advice to the weaker student is that revise. Don't wait till the last minute. Find a good personal tutor. Don't go to a school where the fee is so low you can afford. Don't go to a school that is so close to you, but go to a school where you can find a top tutor. Many times, your teacher will be willing to help if you would ask and spend the time and money you need to complete a thorough and exhaustive revision of accounting or costing. Really learn it. That is my advice. I'm sorry, please. Learn it, all of it. Now, once you have accomplished that, send me an email and I will tell you what else needs to be done. The next student will be referred to as the obstinate student. Some of the most difficult students to teach are the obstinate students. Obstinate students are a combination of other student types with the added characteristics of not listening to a word the teacher says. They reject help and advice if the teacher were there to confuse them, not to help them. That's what they feel. So obstinate student truly amazes me. Now, if you don't want your teacher's advice, if you don't want the teacher's help and advice, then why on earth are you in their classroom? Why do obstinate students fail? Obstinate students fail for obvious reasons. After disagreeing with their teacher about some point that doesn't need to be disagreed with, they usually remember the point they argued instead of the point the teacher was trying to make, which is most probably the right answer. Therefore, the knowledge they retain is flawed. Now, just because you believe you are right, it doesn't mean you actually are right. Normally, I will say, grow up and listen to your teacher. But I know that advice doesn't work on you. So I will tell you this. Consider, just maybe for a moment, that what you so certainly believe to be right could actually be wrong. So stop fighting over things of little importance and put your stubbornness to work by actually learning the subject. As a wise person once said, someone convinced against their wills is of the same opinion still. If what you believe differs from that of what your teacher is teaching with regards to accounting, that is then maybe it's time for you to take a little advice. After all, your teacher is there for your benefit, not your harm, whether you agree with me or not. The next student is the smarty pants. I refer to them as smarty pants. Smarty pants ask questions to show how smart they are, not to learn anything that has anything to do with the lesson. Smarty pants are often teachers or those diligent students who seem to want to know things that will never in a million years be tested on the exam. The questions they ask are not geared towards learning. They are to show the teacher and everyone else in the class how smart they are. Smarty pants usually have a bit of obstinate in them, along with touch of the lazy. So why do they fail? Smarty pants should put their smart to work preparing for the exam. Now, as stated before, they usually have a touch of the lazy and a bit of the obstinate that can make for some real problems. If smarty pants has a tendency to procrastinate, which they often do, then even smarty pants can fail an exam or two, at which point they promptly turn into a blamer. It's usually not one thing that keeps smarty pants from succeeding. It's a combination of things. So what is my advice? Try limiting your questions to relevant materials. Don't wait for the last minute thinking you can cram in a whole list of unknown words the weekend before the exam. You can't. I will look at the next student. I refer to them as the procrastinators. So I'm looking at the procrastinators. The procrastinator tends to wait until the very last minute to do anything. Now, as with laziness, we all tend to procrastinate from time to time. The problem with these guys is that they are often good students once they get to work. Now, by waiting until the last minute, they add unnecessary stress to an already stressful situation. But more importantly, they fail to do the necessary work. Now, why do they fail? Sometimes they fail because they wait too long before they get busy learning the subject at hand. I have seen more procrastinators, smart students, fail than most other type of students. My advice to such students is that what I'm going to say before I say it, I believe you know that. You have heard it all before, or have you? My advice to such students is don't wait until the last minute to do your work, but they will not listen. Do all of the exercises and learn all of the work that have been assigned. And I mean all of them. You can procrastinate all you want, so long as you do all the work. What few procrastinators are willing to admit is that deep down, they are lazy. What happens to them over and over again is that they fail to finish their homework. Sure, they can come up with a variety of good reasons. I have heard them all, but the fact is that most students or most of these students fail to do their homework. Lack of work equals poor results on your language exam. Now, you can argue with all you want, but in the end, if you are honest with yourself, you know I am right. The next is about the good student. The good student. Some will question the wisdom of including a chapter on good students. After all, good students do their work, come to class prepared and on time. They participate and they question their mistakes. In a word, good students learn. They take advantage of all that is at their disposal and make the most of it. So then, how can good students fail? Good students don't usually fail exams. So why do they? You will ask. Well, sometimes bad things happen to good people. Life is unfair. I have seen good students that I was certain would pass their exam. And guess what? They fail. Likewise, I have seen not so good students pass exams that they weren't really ready for. There are no certain explanations. Perhaps the good student had a bad day and not so good student had an exceptionally good day. They fail. Why do they fail? A number of variables concerning any given exam is too many for an absolute certainty as to why some failed or passed. So what is my advice to good students? Whether you are a good student or not, so good student, you should do everything within your power to ensure success on your exam. The next is the unprepared students, students who are actually not prepared for the exam. They are told that in a year you can sit the exam 3 times, 4 times, so they also register to sit the exam. Then we have the undisciplined student. Now, before I look at the undisciplined student, I have sent you my full name, my email, and my WhatsApp contact in the chat room. Kindly pick them as early as you can, write them down so that just in case you go off the program due to technical issues, you can get back to me so that I will share with you the rest of the materials. Now let's look at the undisciplined student. Some students even brag about how undisciplined and lazy they are by stating that they never or rarely need and study their textbooks or class lecture material. What they are saying is they want to learn the minimum required to get a degree or to get a professional certificate. Well, no wonder these low achievers have such difficult times getting and keeping jobs on graduation. We also have the distractions. You must recognize any diversions and distractions to achievement as the enemies to achieving your goals. If that means no more television, movies, dates, video games, partying with friends, or job until you get your education act together, then do so now. You must focus to prevent those distractions from causing you to fail. You might be surprised to know that there will be many in your life, known and unknown, who want you to fail. Will you let them win? Will you let others defeat you? The next, so look at these students here. I'll come and talk about them later. Whilst a big guy is teaching, a congressman, look at these students. They seem to be distracted by reading newspaper. Another reason why students fail is poor time management. Sometimes it is as simple as this: poor attitude and not spending enough time on the material. How much time does it take? It depends on how much time you need. We learn by repetition. 2,000 years ago, the Greek philosopher Heraclitus said, and I quote, "A man's character is his fate. The content of your character is your choice. Day by day, what you choose, what you think, and what you do is who you become," unquote. Students spend much of their time on their first and second questions and are unable to have time to attempt the rest of the questions. Now let's look at this question on your screen. I will say marks equal time. So look at the questions on your screen. I am interested in the marks allocated. Requirement A is 13 marks. Requirement B is 5 marks. Requirement C is 7 marks. My advice to you in the exam is to allocate 1.5 minutes to a mark. So before you start work, multiply the 13 marks, the 5 marks, the 7 marks by 1.5. Now, this is what you will get. For requirement A, you are to spend 19.5 minutes. Requirement B, 7.5 minutes. Requirement C, 10.5 minutes. Under no circumstances should you go beyond the time you have allocated. Time management is the greatest enemy. So allocate time to each point of the question using 1.5 minutes. The next reason has to do with the numbers. The numbers given to you in your case study, the numbers given to you in the question. The analysis of financial information is a key part of the strategic case study examination and then the strategic business leader. And the 15-mark case study will nearly always contain financial data. The examiner does not just want calculation. He will be looking for commentary and analysis. Ratios are of limited use on their own. So most of the marks in an examination question will be available for sensible, well-explained, and accurate comments on the key ratios. If we look at it from the student perspective, professional marks. Now, most students lose these professional marks. Now, where do these professional marks come from? Your introduction, your conclusion. So in a summary, professional marks are for doing the following. 1, understanding the intended purpose of a communication. 2, identify its intended users and their needs. 3, preparing and using the appropriate type of document in an answer. 4, using a logical and appropriate answer structure or format. Judging the tone to use depending on the nature of background information and objectives to be met. Assessing where and how much details is required as appropriate. Adopting clear, concise, and precise methods of presentation, both in verbal and numerical context. The next reason why students fail is that the questions are not answered properly. Poor preparation does not allow the students to answer the questions well. Another reason is weak application. Many candidates have a problem applying the theoretical knowledge they have learned to the context of the scenario. At this level, and when I say this level, I mean the professional level, there are relatively few marks available for describing models such as Porter's 5 competitive forces. The vast majority of marks are for recognizing the presence and then the effect of these forces in the context of the case study scenario. Another reason why students fail is lack of adequate question practice. Most students don't practice questions at all. And if you have practiced past questions, you'll be surprised that most of these questions are repeated in the exam. The next reason is failure to pay your tuition fees. I know some of you are going to argue with me. Yes, it is one of the reasons why you are not successful. Failure to pay your tuition fees. You have attended a college. Now, those that organize this program, that is what they do for business. They feed their family from your tuition fee. Now, you are part of the program and you do not want to pay your tuition fee. How are they going to pray on your behalf so you become successful? Personally, a month to the exam, I and my family will pray and fast for the success of our student. So my advice to such students is wherever you go, make sure you pay your tuition fee so that the provider of tuition will be able to pay for the overhead, take care of their family, so they can also pray for you. The next reason why students fail is inadequate preparation towards the exam paper. You will notice that students will not even practice. They will not even study. Just about a week to the exam, that is when they take their leave period. And within a week, you cannot go through the entire syllabus. Now, if you want to wait till that period, I'm advising you, it will not be enough. When you take your leave, the first day you pick your textbook or your material to read, the entire day you may have read just about 5 pages. And by the time you get to the 5th page, the first 2 pages or the 3 pages you read earlier, you may have forgotten. So take your time, prepare adequately for the exam. Another reason is the inability to get through the models or the syllables. Some students don't even know the syllables. So my advice is get the syllables, know the details of the syllables, the models, before you write the exam. Psychological makeup during the exam. Student can get to the exam room. The questions are given. You read through the entire question and you realize that you cannot answer a single one. As soon as student realizes they cannot answer, they are down. My advice is the psychological makeup during the exam will determine whether you'll be successful or not. Whenever you notice that you cannot answer any of the questions, relax. Give yourself about 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Just relax. You'll be surprised. The answers will start coming in. My personal experience, I was going to write an exam. As soon as they gave me the question, I noticed I couldn't answer any of the questions. And whenever you notice you cannot answer the questions, you are relaxed. You are not under any stress. Why? Because you know your fate. Your fate is you're going to go back to the nearest examination center because you know you will not be successful. So I was relaxed. And when you are relaxed, you will be surprised. Your handwriting will be neat because you take your time to write. Few minutes, about 30 minutes or an hour, surprisingly, the answers started coming in because I was relaxed. So that is my advice. Your psychological makeup during the exam, just relax. The next reason is refusing to do research on your own. Now, most students listen to their teachers. It's good to listen to your teacher, but your teacher notes and textbooks are not enough. There's the need for you also to do a little research on your own. Go outside your teacher's manual and do a little research. Go to YouTube. There are so many materials you can get from YouTube, videos, lecture notes. You will surprise yourself. You can get so many. So don't waste time going to certain platforms to download certain movies that are not relevant for you. The next is obstacles. Obstacles. I'm discussing why some students are not successful in the exam. Obstacles. Obstacles include not setting goals and intermediate objectives to get there, not coming to class, reading material in class like newspapers, and not paying attention to lecture content, arriving late and leaving early, laughing and talking and not paying attention to class lectures, and not taking detailed notes, and not asking questions to clarify lecture points, and distracting others and the teacher. Missing exams, not reading the text as many times as necessary to master and then understand the material, and then failure to organize and even memorize lecture and text materials. Attendance. Before I do that, look at these students. As I told you, there was a gentleman in their class teaching them how Congress work, and yet students were reading newspapers. Attendance. Now, regarding attendance, if you are absent, the equivalent of 2 weeks worth of classes or more over the semester, expect that you will not do as well as you could have done. Can you believe how these students, let me show you the picture again, were reading newspapers in class, while a person in line to be president of the United States was teaching how Congress works? They missed a rare opportunity to increase their knowledge, and their behavior was rude. Now, how can you do well on exam if not paying attention in class? Know that my PowerPoint slides are merely lecture outlines, and that I ask questions not only about what is on the slides, but what I say about the slides. I am often mystified to see students not taking class notes, and I wonder how these students will remember what I said about a point a month later on the exam. Life is about choices. Some choose to make A's and some to make F's. Another problem I see is that most students study hard for the first exam and do well, but then some, being overconfident, do not study as hard for the other exam. and progressively do worse. Do not fall into that trap. Failure to organize little details. Please, when the question is given to you, take your time and analyze the question in details. Big doors shrink on small hinges. Big doors shrink on small hinges. Years are made of seconds. So when you ignore the seconds, they become minutes and later hours and days. Lack of strong vision, purpose, and drive. Most students are in this professional program because they want to be called chartered accountants, chartered marketers, chartered bankers. You need to have a strong vision, a purpose, and a drive to be able to become successful in this exam. Spiritual warfare is another reason why some students are not successful. I've heard a lot of my students say, I am not spiritual, but you were created by somebody. There's always a spiritual battle. There's somebody out there who is not interested in your success. It could be your wife, it could be your husband, it could be your children, it could be your boss at the office, it could even be a friend. So it is important to say a little prayer anytime you are going to learn, anytime you are going to write an exam. It is important that you say a little prayer. Take good care of your spiritual warfare. It will support you to be successful. Insufficient materials. As I indicated earlier, most students concentrate on their teacher's material. That alone is not enough. I always tell my students, don't depend on my lecture notes alone. Go and look for additional materials. Giving God his rightful place. As I indicated, I am not religious, I'm not religious, we're created by somebody. So please give reverence to God. Whenever you are studying, pray. Whenever you are going to write the exams, pray. It is important. So I have looked at the student perspective, why some students are not successful in the exam. The next is to look at the lecturer's perspective. But as I said, this will not concern you. So I will not talk about the lecturer's perspective. All that I will say concerning the lecturers is that you need a top tutor. You need a top tutor to assist you. If you have read the Kaplan test, every page that you open, you see it written boldly there. Follow the footsteps of a top tutor. Don't go to a school that is close to you. Don't go to a school where the fees is so low you can afford. Go to a school where you would find a top tutor to assist you pass this professional program. Now, I'm going to move to the techniques that will help you to become successful in your coming exam. What will be the technique? Now, as I indicated earlier, if you do have any question, you can send your question as a chat and I would address your question. Do not wait till the Q&A before you ask your question. So please, if you do have any question, go ahead, send your question as a chat and I will address it. Now, let us look at the technique that we will use in passing our new syllabus, be it ACCA or ICA Ghana or ACID, CIMA or CIT. My first question is, what are the professional bodies, their objectives? Their main objective is for their students to pass the exam. So how would you be able to pass your forthcoming exam? The most important thing you need is your brain. If your brain is not functioning well, it's going to be difficult for you to pass. You need a syllabus. Some students don't even know the syllabus. They always take what their teachers give them as what they need to pass the exam. That is not enough. So as you leave here today, go and look for the syllabus. 2, past exam questions. Look at the trend. Look at the style of the examiner. Get his past questions. It will help you. Sometimes the examiner comes out with pilot papers. Look at his pilot questions and you pick 1 or 2 information. Attend examiners' conferences. You will also get information about how to pass the exam. You need books and materials. As I said, don't depend on your teacher's manual alone. That is not enough. You need resource persons like Pajo Donfe to come and support you. You need newspapers. And here, I'm referring to quality newspapers. Not a newspaper that you pick and then you read 250 women beat up their husbands in the year 2021. That is not a newspaper you need. Get quality newspaper. Go for an online tutorial, corporate talks, newsletters. it has been observed that most students don't read the newsletters. Rather, it is the teachers who read the newsletters. Go to the website of your examining body. Go and read the newsletters. They will help you to be successful. Also, look at the examiner's comment. The next thing I would want to talk about is language. Now, passing this exam, language can be a barrier to learning. Now, what language am I talking about here? I am talking about the sources of your technical terminologies. Now, where will these terminologies come from? They come from your accounting standards, they will come from the articles, they will come from your tutors, your workplace. So sometimes you hear your teacher saying, capitalize, write it off. These are technical terminologies. In an exam, when you use these technical terminologies, your examiner understands them. But whenever you use a non-technical terminology, my advice to you is that explain those points as simple as possible. Use plain language to explain these non-technical terminologies. Interpretation of the requirement is very, very, very important. So when you go to the exams room, come December, or whenever you are writing this exam, take your time, read the interpretation, and be able to analyze it. The interpretation of the requirement is vital to your exam success, more important for higher level papers. So here, you are looking for the right answer. Go and focus on the key areas of the requirement. Now, how would you be able to break this barrier, which I'm referring to as the language? How do you break the barrier? Use a strategy called the coping strategies. The coping strategy. Now, what is the coping strategy? One, practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. A key way to improve competence is practice, practice, practice. Key area of focus throughout the course is practice, practice, practice. So balance between instruction and guidance, and then demonstrate where the examiner's answer came from. Practice, practice, practice. Two, structured response. How do you respond to the requirement? Read the instruction. What are we talking about? Look at the subject matter. Where do the math come from? Look at the math allocation. Where do the math come from? Look at your watch. Time management. How should I answer the key bit first? So when it comes to the question, analyze the requirement. Two, read the question. Three, look at the key technique and the method you would adopt. Four, time allocation. Go by the Sansu strategy. Sansu, the greatest philosopher ever to be on this planet, the greatest general. Sansu says, war is life and death. In war, know your enemy and know yourself. And in 100 battles, you will never be in peril. Sansu says, in war, attack what is weak, avoid what is strong. Sorry. And in 100 battles, you will never be in peril. So in an exam, go for the easy marks first. Attack what is weak. Go for the easy marks first. The challenging ones, leave it for the examiner. Okay? So when you take a question, there are certain items there that are free. They are easy. Pick those easy marks. Pick those free marks. And the challenging ones, leave them for the examiner. The next step is to develop a pro forma where possible. Pro forma where possible. So for instance, if you are doing a consolidation, draw the pro forma of the consolidation. Put in the free marks. Come in for the easy marks. Then go for not easy. The challenging ones, leave it for the examiner. If the question is on report writing, begin with the structure. To, from, date. Introduce the report. Now, if you don't know how to do an introduction, my advice is go to the requirement. It is a question. Turn it into a statement form, and you have an introduction. Now, you are running out of time. That's why you are going for a report. Leave enough space and come and conclude. And in your conclusion, do not forget to use these words. Should you require any further information, do not hesitate to contact me. Whoever is going to mark your script will say, but this guy did not write anything. So why has it concluded? That is why I said you should not hesitate to contact me. So if you should contact me, I will tell you I was running out of time, and that's why I did not write anything under the body. It sounds funny, isn't it? Yes, it does. But let's listen. How do examiners mark the script? The chief examiner says, when you are marking the script, Pajo, when you see 2, give the student quarter 1/4. If you see from, give the student 1/4. If you see an introduction, give the student a maximum of 2 marks. Now, Pajo, did you see these students giving you an introduction? Yes. Did you see 2 from this? Yes. Award those marks. 1 mark can change your destiny in the exam. Develop a pro forma where necessary. And once you are writing, to facilitate an answer, read the question at every step. After you have written 1 or 2 points, go and read the requirement. You may, I'm using the word may, you may be deviating, but you may not even know you are deviating. So as you keep on referring to the requirement, it puts you in perspective. So when you are deviating, you know you are deviating. Draw out technique that you use to answer the question. Focus on the easy bit. Drive home the mark allocation and always look at your timing. 3, know your verbs, which is the most important aspect of this exam. Now, each of the 3 levels of this examination scheme has broad objective and expected performance outcome. Topics within the syllabus contains a list of learning outcomes, which should be read in conjunction with the knowledge content for the syllabus. A learning outcome has 2 main purposes. 1, to define the skill or ability that a well-prepared candidate should be able to exhibit in the examination. And then 2, to demonstrate the approach likely to be taken by examiners in examination questions. The learning outcomes are part of a hierarchy of learning objectives. The verbs used at the beginning of each learning outcome relates to a specific learning objective. For example, evaluate alternative approaches to budgeting. The verb evaluate indicates a high-level learning objective. Now, because learning objectives are hierarchical, it is expected that at this level, students will have knowledge of different budgeting systems and methodologies and be able to apply them. A list of learning objectives and then the verbs that appear in the syllabus learning outcomes and then the examination questions will follow such as this. So let me quickly show you a few of them. From level 1, the study objective will be the knowledge, and he said what you are expected to know. So when it comes to the verb, explain them. So it's an explanation. Some of the verbs will be list. He will tell you to list. List means make a list. If he says state, it means express fully or clearly the details of the fact. If the verb says define, it means give the exact meaning. That is for level 1 student, the knowledge base. If he's going to test you on comprehension, which is what you are expected to know, the verb will be distinguish. And when it says distinguish, means highlight the differences between the 2. If the verb says explain, make clear or intelligible or state the meaning. If the verb says identify, it means recognize, establish, or select after consideration. If the verb says illustrate, use an example to describe or explain something. For level 1, still level 1, if it is an application level, how are you expected to apply your knowledge? So in application, the verb will be calculate or compete, means ascertain. If the verb use says demonstrate, it means prove with certainty or to exhibit by practical means. If it says prepare, make or get ready for use. If it says reconcile, make or prove consistency. If the verb use says solve, find an answer to it. And if it says tabulate, arrange in a table form. Now from level 2 student, the comprehension level will say, what are you expected to understand? So if the verb says describe, it means communicate the key features. If the verb says distinguish, it means highlight the differences between the 2. If the verb says explain, it means make clear or intelligible or state the meaning. If the verb says identify, it means recognize, establish, or select after consideration. If the verb says illustrate, it means use an example to describe or explain something. Now, still under level 2, the application level means how you are expected to apply your knowledge. So the question could say calculate or compete. What are you supposed to do? Ascertain or reckon mathematically. If the requirement says demonstrate, then prove with certainty or to exhibit by practical means. If the requirement says prepare, make or get ready for use. If it says reconcile, make or prove consistency. If it says solve, it means find an answer to it. And if it says tabulate, arrange in a table form. Still under level 2, under the analysis stage, how you are expected to analyze the details of what you have learned. So he will say categorize, compare and contrast, construct, discuss, interpret, produce. Now let's look at the level 3 student. This is a higher level. So under the application, how are you expected to apply what you have learned from your textbook to the case? Now, the examiner has complained that most often students are unable to apply what they have learned to their case. So when the verb says apply, put to practice. When the verb says calculate or compete, ascertain or reckon. When the question or the verb says demonstrate, prove with certainty. When it says prepare, make or get ready for use. When the verb says reconcile, solve, tabulate, I have provided you with what you are supposed to say. Now, when it comes to level 3, the analysis stage, how you are expected to analyze the detail of what you have learned. So he will say categorize, compare and contrast, construct, discuss, interpret, produce. Now, when it comes to the evaluation stage, how you are expected to use your learning to evaluate, make decisions or recommendations. So we are likely to hear the examiner saying evaluate, means appraise or assess the value of something. Or he will say recommend. If the verb says recommend, you are to advise. Every examination question will use one or other of the verbs from the hierarchy that I've given to you. Examiners will not use a verb in a question requirement that comes from a higher level than that of the verb in the learning outcome being tested. What is the examiner asking when it comes to the verb? Understanding the verb of the requirement. So know the verb. Answering an examination question, it is important to consider the question requirement carefully to make sure you understand exactly what is being asked. All requirements are not the same. So understanding the question is part of the answer. Use the Bloom taxonomy of thinking when it comes to the verb. The Bloom taxonomy of thinking is a structured way to approach exam requirement. It is used in many different ways by most professional examining bodies, and they are in 5 levels. They are 1, knowledge; 2, understanding; 3, application; 4, analysis; and 5, evaluation. Today, I'm going to give you the techniques that you will need to be able to pass the exam. After today's program, I will have another program, and this one will be specific program. It will be either a financial reporting or corporate reporting, strategic case study, financial management. Over there, I will strictly concentrate on techniques that will pass you as far as that particular paper is concerned. Now let us look at some few activities. Time will not permit me to look at all the activities. So for instance, if the examiner says assess, from the 5 levels, he's asking you to do an evaluation and do an analysis. If the requirement says discuss, he's testing you on knowledge, application, and analysis. If he says distinguish, he's interested in your understanding. If he says explain, he's testing you on your understanding. It is important that you know the again. I'll run through that quickly. I'll run through the Bloom taxonomy again. So for instance, when the question says name, he's testing your knowledge. Evaluate, he's asking for evaluation. If he says recommend, that is evaluation. If he says illustrate, he's testing your knowledge and understanding. If it says calculate, knowledge and application, if it says describe, it is understanding. And if it says list, when I say he, I'm referring to the examiner, the requirement. If the requirement says compare and contrast, it's asking you for an analysis. If the requirement or the verb says apply, he's looking for application. If he says define, he's testing you on knowledge. To accelerate your learning, I will quote from Peter Straub. Peter Straub says, time only seems to matter when it is running out. Time only seems to matter when it is running out. Now, you are those of you writing your exams in December. You have just a few months to write the exam. So my advice to you is to start your preparation now. How would you be able to start your preparation and become successful in your coming exam? The technique I'm going to give you is that I'm going to give you ways to focus and reduce your revision time. I'm going to help you to be confident in the exam hall, be motivated to study, and improve your exam and study techniques with a little help from these great men, Julius Caesar, Aristotle, Henry Ford, and Mahatma Gandhi. First, I will begin by asking you to improve your study exam techniques. First, get a syllabus and get a study guide now. Now, when you get your syllabus, go and look at the objectives. You have 1, knowledge and comprehension. 2, written beside the objective, this says application and analysis. The examiner will tell you that, but that is what it means. If it is 3, it is professional evaluation, meaning that particular objective, you're going to be tested on knowledge and comprehension. That is, if this one is written beside it. 2, get a pilot paper now, because Julius Caesar said, I came, I saw, I conquered. You've been with me today. You have seen the techniques. Go and conquer. 4, sort out your environment now. Plan and use a memory technique. The professional bodies have published a very detailed studies guide and syllabus for all papers. This is the key tool or the keystone to your study. Within the study guide are about 130 learning objectives. For example, explain the purposes of a diversity policy within the human resources plan. Or this should form a section of your study plan. You need to be aware precisely what the word explain means. Also, you will notice a number after each objective, and this gives further guidance as to the depth of questions that could be asked. So if it is 1, it is knowledge and comprehension. If it is 2, it's going to test you on application and analysis. If it is 3, it's about professional evaluation. If you can answer all the 130 learning objectives, the exam is yours. And this sounds a lot, but some are very straightforward. Once you have covered a learning objectives, test your knowledge. And this is done by referring to the pilot paper if there is a question on that outcome in that particular paper. If not, refer to a further question in the practice and revision kit. Your learning environment is your space. The tidier and more organized it is, the more fruitful your studying time you need to spend studying. Ensure that all the things you need are at hand at all times. Do not listen to all the advice about silence. This has been proven to be only suited to certain individuals. If you like music, listen to it while studying. The point is that you find studying enjoyable. Create a study plan immediately. Ensure it contains time for every single learning objective, and also when these are going to be recapped. Also, put in plenty of time for leisure and holidays. Remember, study is to be enjoyed. Now, how important is it that you stick to the timetable? Not at all. It's your timetable. You are the boss. You are on flexi time. Study is to be enjoyed. If you are tired, forget studying and go and watch TV. The important point is that every study period is used to the maximum efficiency. Just don't kill yourself that you are tired, and if you miss a session, ensure that you fit it in later. Make sure you have a study plan. Memory techniques are the icing on the cake. They will give you the edge over other candidates. They are the subject of another article later or another class later. They are not all required at this moment. So what would be my advice now? Get the syllabus now, get the last two exams now, sort out the environment, and then plan. You need to have a clear objective, plan, have a fewer interruption. You shouldn't be tired. Don't stress yourself too much. Organize yourself and eat your frog. Mahatma Gandhi said the future depends on what we do in the present. So if you want to pass the coming exam, it depends on what you do now. Ensure that you have all the materials that you need. It may seem like a lot of work. It really isn't. It should take you around 30 minutes to recap a whole day work, particularly with the use of mind maps. Each 40-minute session is to be as productive as possible. You need to study maximum 40 minutes, 1 hour. I've seen a lot of students sitting down for about 3 hours, 4 hours. Tell all your family, etc., that this is your study time, no interruption. They should allow you to study. You will be around for just 30 minutes afterwards, and then you get back to your friends. This ensures that you spend a full 40 minutes and that you finish the session glowing with satisfaction. At all times, as mentioned earlier, your study area must be organized and tidy. Keep your notes, study guide, and books at close hand at all times. I am saying eat your frog. Eat your frog means do the things you dislike most first. The things you dislike most first. Do not avoid things. They only serve to stress you out. Anyway, as you know, deep down they are there. So do what you dislike first. This is what I mean by eat your frog. If you dislike process costing, for example, say, right, I'm going to start with this and not let it go until I can do a proper exam question on it. You will be amazed how good you feel afterwards. Remember, take Mahatma Gandhi's advice. Do all of this now. Get started and reap the reward in the very near future. You need the mind maps. Later, I might talk about the mind maps later. You need biothem. Now, these methods which will help make the most of your study time and hence reduce the overall time you need to spend studying. What is mind maps? I'll talk about mind maps later when I meet you again, if I get the opportunity. But biothem, what are biothems? Biothems are all about when we work best. It could be in the morning for you. It could be in the afternoon. It could be in the night. Don't just presume. Try it out. For 1 week, study once in the morning, then the next day in the afternoon, the next in the evening. You'll be able to determine the time that works for you better. Then look back and see which time seemed to be the most productive. Then plan as many sessions as possible for that time. Work with your body, not against it. Remember, if you are tired, don't study. Enjoy your study time. As a revision tip, as the exam approaches, turn the syllabus objectives into questions. Put them on post, put them on notes, and put them everywhere. Every time you see one, then answer it loud. So to summarize this, I'll say get a clear objective, plan, get a fewer interruptions. You shouldn't be tired. Don't stress yourself. Organize yourself. Eat your frog. Find or do your mind maps and then the biotech. Get a syllabus now. Get the last two exams now. Sort out the environment and plan. Be happy. Be very happy. Event plus response equals to outcome. Affirmations, visualize, smile, anchor, look at your physiology. You should be motivated. Motivation is key. In life, we are nowhere without it. The key, however, is not to think of how bad studying is and that it is something to be endured. The point is to think how you would feel if you didn't study and compare that to the feeling you get after the 40 minutes. Also, throughout your study, the studying itself should be enjoyable. If you are in charge of it, it will be. Be happy. Be happy means be happy about studying and coming to college. Enjoy the social aspect of college and the feeling of learning something new every day. This will not only provide motivation, but will actually get you a better result. More on happiness and its effects on your study. I'll look at this later in my next talk with you. Think of the equation. Event plus response equals outcome. This is a truism. Some people react negatively to certain events. Others take a totally different response to it. The outcomes differ or the outcome differs accordingly. Optimistic, positive approach. Positive people simply do better in their careers. Study after study shows this. So next time you see the event of study on the horizon, remember your emotional response to it will affect the outcome. You know what to do. Now, when Roger Bannister first ran the 4-minute mile, the medical profession previously said it wasn't humanly possible. Within 2 weeks of completing the feat, many others had done the same. Why? Because they believe it to be true. We were told that no human being can run below 10 seconds, but today quite a number of athletes have run below 10 seconds. So visualize yourself running your 4-minute mile. That is passing the exam. Picture yourself in the exam hall, seeing a question you don't like, but smiling and slowly working your way through it. And at the end, thinking it wasn't too bad after all. Every top sportsman does this visualization. Take a lesson from them. When all is not well and you do not feel positive and optimistic, often a simple smile to yourself works wonders. It is very difficult indeed to feel negative while smiling. Anchors come from the study of NLP. Basically create an emotional feeling and your will. If you want to feel happy, then you can. Want to feel excited, you can. Want to learn more, read my next article, which I will share on my wall on Facebook. Try and keep as fit as possible during your study time. Exercise during the day. Remember, think of the pain. Think of the pain of telling others you failed. Now, immediately compare that to how satisfied you will feel if you just study for 40 minutes or 40 minutes, no contest really. And anytime you pass the exam and you qualify, it's as if some burden has been lifted off your shoulders. What did Aristotle say? He says, the aim of the wise is not to ensure pleasure, but to avoid pain. I always tell my students, if you don't want to bleed on the battlefield, you must sweat on the training grounds. So a little revision technique is going to help you, right? So run circles around some students. Henry Ford said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are probably right. So if you think you can pass this exam, you are right. If you think you cannot pass this exam, you are also right. Have confidence in the exam. And there are two kinds of people in the world. Those that start and finish, and those that start but do not finish. Take all the advice you can, and I trust you'll be able to go through this program successfully. Before I wrap up my program for the day, my question to you is, what will become of your dream if you are not successful in your forthcoming ICA, ACCA exam in December? Abandon them or pursue? But how do you do that? Now, here's how to pass your ICA Ghana or ACCA exam in December with the exact result and marks you desire. I am going to invite you to a revision and examination technique lecture for ICA Ghana 2 exam. My objective for this program is to show you how to obtain 50% of the exam's mark. And this is the mark I call gentleman pass. Now, what do my students call this mark? Let my people go. If you have ever scored 49% in an exam, you would appreciate scoring 50%. I am not interested in you winning a prize, but if you do win a prize, I will be the first to shake your hand and congratulate you. But my main interest is that gentleman pass, which is 50%. Now, here's what we expect from my revision class, which will take off in November 19, 2022. One, you will have guidance and expert advice on key topic areas, so you will be prepared to pass the exam. Two, you will obtain clearer and deeper understanding of financial reporting, corporate reporting, advanced audit and assurance, strategic case study, so that answering these questions will be easy. Three, you will gain the techniques required in passing this paper to eliminate the option of failing. Four, you will know the examiner's expectation, so you can adequately and comfortably meet them. Five, you will know how to avoid failing at your first attempt in these papers. Six, you will know how to manage your time during the exam, so you can relax and then attempt all necessary questions with distinction. Remember, I will show you how to take more than 50% of the exam's mark in topics such as consolidation, statement of cash flows, published account, and other topics without touching any of the computations in the footnote. This sounds strange, right? Yes, it does, but it is true. Most students who have benefited from this program can attest to it. If you have any comment, quickly place your comment below. If you have any question now, you can also go ahead and ask me your question. Thank you for making up time to listen to me. Kindly leave your comment below. Should you require any further information on your professional programs, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much for joining me. My Chinese proverb again says, when I hear, I forget. When I see, I remember. When I do, I understand. You need the mercy of God to support you pass this exam. To close for the day, I will say my last technique for you is first revise a topic. And the topic you are going to revise could be consolidation, could be inventory. Revise the topic. 2, find a question on that topic. You can get it from your kit. And then set the timer on your phone. The timer, every phone has a timer. So if you are to spend 30 minutes to answer the question, set 30 minutes. As soon as you hear your phone beeping, stop work. And as soon as you stop, go and review your answer against the model answer. And then go to the website to read the examiner's report. The examiner will tell you how students fare as far as the question is concerned, what he was expecting from his students. Thank you for making up time to listen to me. Kindly leave your comments. Should you require any further information on your professional program, do not hesitate to contact me. Thank you very much. Stay blessed.
Thank you for your attention. I hope you found this lecture informative. I trust this lecture has inspired you to explore further. Remember to review the key concepts and practice what you have learned. If you did find this video useful, kindly share with someone who needs to know this. Help spread the word and let's learn together. Join our community, subscribe now, and stay informed.